Let's talk about money. You know, it's one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sources of stress for pretty much any couple. But what if all those fights about finances could actually become a source of strength? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into David Bach's bestseller, Smart Couples Finish Rich, to see if we can find a roadmap for turning that financial conflict into some seriously powerful teamwork. Okay, so let's just start right here. This quote from the author himself, man, it just kicks things off perfectly because it's so incredibly relatable, right? The honeymoon is over, the wedding bliss starts to meet the cold, hard reality of bills, and for so many of us, that is exactly where the trouble begins. So let's really get into that first fight. The book uses the author's own story to frame this as a totally universal experience. It's that moment when my money and your money just come crashing into this new, complicated idea of our money. Now, here's what's so fascinating about their story. It's the irony of it all. See, David Bach and his wife Michelle were both financial pros. I mean, he managed money for giant corporations, she helped high-powered executives. You'd think paying their own bills would be an absolute breeze, right? But nope, it just goes to show you the problem isn't about how much you know about finance, it's all about the approach you take as a couple. And this slide just perfectly lays out their big disagreement. So you've got David, the financial planner, who comes up with this ridiculously complicated system. A David pile, a Michelle pile, a we pile, a to-be-discussed pile. I mean, you can just feel the anxiety building looking at it. And then you have Michelle's idea. One joint account. Put all the money in, pay all the bills out. Simple, unified, totally clear. Well, the result of David's crazy pile system was, a predictable disaster. Bills started getting paid late, which led to late fees, and you know what comes with late fees? The blame game. Instead of building their life together, all this money stuff was just driving a wedge right between them. It was causing way more stress than it was ever supposed to solve. So, if separate piles and separate plans are a recipe for disaster, then what actually works? This brings us to the real heart of the book, making that huge fundamental shift from thinking about my money to truly embracing our money. And the book gives this a name, Financial Teamwork. But look, it's not just about sharing a bank account. It's a whole philosophy. It means you stop acting like two individuals who just happen to live together, and you become genuine financial partners, working toward the same goals with complete open communication. Bach shares this really powerful analogy that just nails the idea. A couple's financial plan, it's like a jet with two engines. Now, if one engine is trying to push the plane forward, but the other one is stuck in reverse, what's going to happen? That plane is going to spin out of control and crash. For that thing to fly, both of you need your engines pointed in the exact same direction. And really, this gets to the heart of it all. It's that lack of alignment, that feeling of not being on the same page, that turns money from a useful tool into a weapon in the relationship. The stress it creates is just immense. And believe me, it's a problem that only gets worse the longer you ignore it.
Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But is it actually possible for regular people? Well, let's turn to a truly incredible story from the book that shows it absolutely is. The story of the author's Grandma Rose.
Grandma Rose's story is just amazing. She started during the Great Depression with literally nothing. No money, no college education. She made this one simple decision: save half her income, just $5 out of her $10 weekly salary. When she first tried to invest, brokers actually told her to go home and come back with her husband. Can you imagine? But she refused. She opened an account anyway. And then she lost every penny in the first year. But here's the magic. She didn't give up. She realized the problem wasn't the market, it was her own lack of knowledge. So she dedicated herself to learning, and over decades of consistent, smart investing, she became a millionaire. And the biggest lesson she passed down was this: if you want to get rich, you have to learn to earn. And she wasn't just talking about earning a paycheck. No. She meant you have to learn how to make your money work for you, how to make it earn more money all on its own through investing.
Grandma Rose's story really shows the power of just starting, even if it's small. But it also brings up a really critical question. What is the actual mathematical cost of waiting? I mean, how much of a difference can a few years really truly make?
So this chart about the time value of money, honestly, it might be one of the most important things in the whole book. Let's look at three different people here. First, you have Billy. He starts investing $2,000 a year at age 19, but only for 5 years. Then he stops completely. Then there's Susan, who also starts at 19, but invests for 8 years. And finally, you have Kim. She starts later, at age 27, but she invests that same $2,000 every single year until she's 65.
So get ready for this. That number you see, that is how much more money Billy ended up with than Kim. Just let that sink in for a second. Billy invested a grand total of $10,000. Kim invested $78,000. But because Billy started just 8 years earlier, his tiny investment had so much more time to grow that it blew Kim's much larger investment out of the water by more than $369,000. That is the unbelievable, staggering power of compound interest, and it's the real cost of delay.
Okay, so we know we have to work as a team, and we know we need to start right now. But how do we actually do it? How do we build a plan? Well, that brings us to the book's actionable framework, the Purpose-Focused Financial Plan.
And the process is designed to be super simple and concrete. First, together as a couple, you just list your top 5 shared values. What really matters to you? Then, you turn those values into 5 specific, measurable goals. From there, you create an immediate, 48-hour action plan just to get the ball rolling. Then you figure out who can help you, and finally, you set a clear start and a clear finish line.
And this is how it all comes together in practice. The book gives you this worksheet that literally takes you from an abstract value like, say, security, to a super concrete goal like increase our net worth by 15%. And then it takes you to an immediate action item, like call the benefits person at work. It's a shared roadmap that turns all those vague dreams into a joint mission you can start today.
So I think the final takeaway is this. Financial planning as a couple isn't about boring spreadsheets and feeling deprived. It's about aligning your money with your shared values and your shared dreams. And that really just leaves us with one question to think about. What is one dream, big or small, that you and your partner can sit down and start planning for together tonight?